This is America in Space, a weekly news and information program on current events dealing with the space industry. From the Washington News Bureau, here is your host, Rick Potlock.
Astronaut Kate Rubins was NASA's 60th woman to fly in space back in 2016 as part of ISS Expedition 48 and 49. She'll be headed back to the ISS in October as part of Expeditions 63 and 64, a six-month mission. Back in 2016, Kate spent 115 days in space, conducted 2 spacewalks, and put her molecular biology degree to good use when she became the first person to sequence DNA in space. Recently, Kate discussed the lessons learned in 2016 getting ready for 2020's mission.
I think it's not so much a lesson, but just the ability to work in space. So when you start out as a rookie, for example, you're not very good at flying and navigating through the space station, so you tend to kind of crawl hand over hand on the handrails. Takes a little while to get your space legs, so to speak. So you have to learn how to transport yourself from one end of the station to the other, how to carry out your activities. The fact that everything floats seems trivial until you try to get a big payload done that has 20 different parts and you have to figure out where you're going to put all of those. I think learning all those kinds of skills takes a good 2 to 4 weeks, and so I'm really excited to go back again with all that in my toolkit. It means we can start doing a large amount of science right out of the gate. So we'll be taking over from Chris Cassidy, who's also a very experienced astronaut on the U.S. Operating segment, and I think we're going to get hopefully a lot done during our increment.
Kate was also asked about her sense of the COVID-19 pandemic from her perspective as an immunologist and virologist.
So I did used to be a virologist in my previous life, and unfortunately I do think in October we still will be struggling with this virus. Hopefully we're going to be able to contain it better, but I think this is going to be around for a while. What we've been doing at NASA is all of the kinds of things that you've been hearing about. So when we can work remotely, we do. When we have to do in-person training, for example, with the crews and some of the flight hardware, we all wear masks, we take social distancing measures, and we sanitize the hardware as we're using it. And I think we're just going to continue that all through training. So the kinds of things that we're advising people to do in their daily lives, this is what the space station crew who's getting ready to launch is doing as well. These are the best things that we know how to do right now to prevent transmission. And I think this is great advice, whether you're training to fly on the space station or you're just going about your daily life to keep you and your family safe.
Rubins was asked about having a full complement of 7 astronauts on board the ISS come October.
Yeah, I think it's going to be incredible to have 7 people on the space station. You know, it's really designed to be able to accommodate that many astronauts. We've been doing a lot of things with the space station program in the last few years to get ready for this. So we've been enhancing our abilities to scrub CO2 from the atmosphere, for example. And we're testing a lot of new technologies that we're going to use for exploration. So having 7 crew aboard allows us to test things like new kinds of atmosphere revitalization. We can test things like new spacesuit components. And then certainly with that number of crew on station, we can really increase our science output. And so this is an incredible time for the International Space Station. We've got the commercial crew program going. We have cargo going through our providers. And so we're able to both staff the station and send materials up to really, really increase the throughput of science. This is a mature program. We know how to get a lot of work done up there. And so when we get 7 crew members, we're going to see, I think, a huge scientific output. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that.
Kate was also asked about her work with DNA in space.
Some of the things that we're really interested in with the DNA sequencing this flight is looking at the microbiome of the space station environment. And that has a lot of parallels with ways that we study the microbiome on Earth. So there's this idea of the microbiome of the built environment. What we're very interested in is how the microbiome of the space station might be different. It's been separate from Earth for 20 years. It's its own biome. It's got its own resources and humans coming and going from it. So we want to see what that microbiome looks like, what these small closed environments do when they've been separate for a very long time.
Kate Rubins and her two Russian cosmonauts, Sergei Ryzhkov and Sergei Kuzhevchkov, are scheduled to launch from Kazakhstan sometime in October aboard a Soyuz capsule. Tuesday, David Denault will begin the series on Mars 2020, so don't forget to listen in on Tuesday. You can follow us on aboutspace.today. Reporting from the Washington News Bureau, I'm Rick Potlock.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to share our program with your family and friends and follow us on Facebook. Join us each week for news and information on America in Space.